Hello everyone, welcome to another video where today we're going to create a first-person shooter, or at least start creating one. If you've opened up your Unreal Project browser, this is version 4.24.1. If you open up Unreal Engine, we're going to see this. So we're going to create a game, so let's click Games. We're going to create a first-person shooter, so let's start with the first person template. We wanted blueprint, maximum quality, created for desktop with some starter content to help us out. Let's call this first person shooter. Nice and original. And this is going to boot up, so this shouldn't take too long. There we go. Just click away every little thing that's down there. Actually for you it's probably more like this. I don't like this because the viewport is one of the more important things. So I enjoy having my content browser up here, and that way I also have a larger content browser, so if I need to search for things I can just find them all. The content browser is where all your content is. I mean, it doesn't take a detective to find that out, but well, you have your geometry, you have some starter content. So for instance, if we wanted to add a chair to our game, we can just add a chair. We can rotate it by clicking on it and pressing E for rotate. Yeah, makes sense, right? R to scale also makes sense, and W to move. Well, I mean, the keys are close to each other. If you can't find your chair, you can press F to move to it, and if you want more manual control, you can get the right mouse button, look around, press W, A, S, and D to move around, Q to go down, and E to go up. So let's focus on this chair, rotate it a bit, and I want to shoot this at this chair. So let's enable physics by clicking Simulate Physics in our Details panel. So here we can see, in a world outliner, we can see every single object we have, and with the chair selected, we can go down to details and enable simulate physics. Alright, if you hit play or press Alt P, we can now shoot at our chair. It's amazing, isn't it? Goodbye, chair. I'll always miss you. Alright. Well, if we're going back into play mode, if we hit a wall, it just sort of bounces around till it runs out of life. Hey, actually hit our chair. But if we shoot at an object we can influence, you can see that it actually does some damage. So let's click on our first person character, which is our little guy here, and press edit first person character. So what is opened is our event graph, and our event graph might be a bit overwhelming. Everything is lined out with these comments and such, but I'm gonna do my best to explain it a bit better. Let's try it with the spawn projectile. These are blueprints, which basically means you have some blocks that are converted to code the moment you play. This does make blueprint quite a bit slower, just so you know. But if you press fire, you play a montage, which basically play an animation. Spawn a projectile at this location, because this is plugged in there. and play a sound at this location, get actor location, which is our character. Every character is, or every blueprint is called an actor. Actually, everything in the engine is called an actor. So, if you're familiar with code, you can see them as methods. So with montage play, you plug some things in. This is going to do its magic, and some things come out. So in this case, it's the next plug to place a new node. And we also have a return value, which is the length of this first person flyer montage, so this animation in seconds. Same with this, we spawn a projectile from a class, then we get a reference to that class. So that might get your head spinning a little bit, but these are the basics. So we're not going to get into this a lot just yet. What I am going to get into is if we go to our viewport here, you see that we have two guns for some reason. Well, that's because we are using, or our first person character is equipped for motion controls or VR. So we can just remove this because we're not going to use it. If we remove everything and hit compile, we'll get an error. Why? Because we have a target here based on where our gun was. So if we're going to delete this, and this, because we're not using motion controllers, we just plug the spawn transform back in there. Well, that cleared up one of our errors. If we go to target, this is set hidden in game, that will be one of them. And set hidden in game are mesh 2P, which is our arm smash. We never really want this because we always want to see our hands if we're using motion controllers, and this only executes if our head mounted display is enabled. So let's just remove this. This is all I have to do with VR. Same with this. Let's just remove this and keep our code nice and organized. If you keep your code nice and organized, that basically means you can always find whatever you're looking for. At the end of creating a product to save space, I'm talking to you here, Rockstar, save space, but we want to remove as much as possible and use textures and use meshes. Sure, make a backup, but build only from that, because maybe you want to create some DLC or do some updates, of course, but keep that as a backup. Alright? That's only at the end of our game though, and we're just going to begin. So, I've talked a bit about the components, but components you can see as a part of a whole. First person character is a whole, our character, with our capsule component is a component, our arrow component is a component, our mesh component is a component, as well as our camera, our other mesh, our arms mesh, our gun mesh, and our sphere, which is basically the place where our bullets are born. And character movement. So character movement already has a lot of parameters which you can tune. If you want your character to move quicker, for instance, you can set the max walk speed, which is max walk speed. There we go. You can set that to 800 or 1200. Let's make him really freaking fast. You can also set our jump to something insane, like 1000. And well, just changing those two things basically change your game to Doom, right? But we still have these bouncing objects coming out of our gun. So if you go back to our event graph, go to our spawn actor, press on browse, we can open our first person projectile, and you can add, well, if it is simulating physics, we want to destroy the actor and add an impulse. But if it isn't simulating physics, we still want to destroy the actor, we just don't want to add the impulse. So we can go put this false, we can drag it out and plug it right into the destroy actor. And in the projectile component, we can give it some more speed, because it isn't really like a bullet, it's more like a, I don't know, a bouncy ball. We can just put it should bounce off. We can also set that the rotation follows the velocity. And now, I think we multiply it tenfold what we, here, oh, 100-fold. If you just put this down to 10. Yeah, that looks better. And we can still shoot at our chair. And just for fun, let's explode our chair. So this is a real quick thing where we can maybe not. So thank you for watching. So thank you for watching this first tutorial on creating a first-person shooter. I will see you all next week for the next one. Bye bye.